Welcome back, Retro Gamers. Today we'll look at an old classic from the early 90s and whose main character which later became known as the mascot of Sega. Yes, we are going to play the ever so famous Sonic the Hedgehog. Wait! Whoa! Oof. Oh god. Sorry about that, I grabbed the wrong one. There we go. Now, this right here was Sega's answer to Nintendo and was the original rival to Super Mario Bros. But what made this blue hedgehog so famous in the first place? So huge to which that the point it became Mario's biggest competitor. Well, let's pop this in the Genesis and find out. To start us off, this game was not Sonic's first appearance in the gaming world, and he was not always the original mascot of Sega. Sega's first mascot was a boy named Alex Kidd from the planet Ares. He was created in 1986 and had about 5 games for the Sega Master System and 1 for the Genesis. It wasn't until 5 years later that Sonic showed up. He first appeared in the racing game Rad Mobile as an air freshener. He later got his own video game 2 months later on June 23, 1991. The game ended up selling over 15 million copies. Sega knew they had a hit on their hands, and Sonic ended up becoming not only a franchise, but the mascot of Sega, spawning many sequels and other spin-offs, some which were excellent, and others which were not so good. Later in Sonic's lifetime, more characters started to show up in his series, like Tails, Knuckles, and his rival Shadow the Hedgehog. But for this episode, we're going to focus on the original game that started it all. The storyline in Sonic the Hedgehog is somewhere on South Island, Sonic's animal friends are starting to disappear. When he discovers that the evil scientist Dr. Ivor Robotnik is behind the kidnappings, Robotnik is now turning the animals into robotic badniks in order to collect the legendary Chaos Emeralds and take over the world. So Sonic must race through each zone to free his animal friends from both their robotic shells and the capsule prisons. Although, like some of the previous games I reviewed, they don't tell you the storyline in the game. You press start and you're already playing the game. They only explain the story in the manual. I always find it a little strange why they don't put the story in the game. But other than that, I feel it's a very original storyline, and the writers really got creative when they started planning this game. But the story is not only what makes this game good, it's how it plays as well. The gameplay is very simple for this game. Your main objective for each stage is to race to the finish of each zone while trying to avoid hazards and enemies. You will need to jump or do a spin in order to get to certain parts of the level. To help you progress through, there are rings and video monitors scattered around the level. The rings give Sonic extra protection. They will allow him to take an extra hit before he loses a life. If you are able to collect 50 of these rings, you will be able to get access to the special stage ring at the end of the level, and you will also get a chance to collect the Chaos Emeralds. Collect 100 rings, and you will earn an extra life. However, if Sonic takes a hit from an enemy or a hazard, he will lose all his rings that he was carrying at that time. Luckily, you will be given a chance to recover some of the lost rings for a short period of time before they disappear. There are other power-ups Sonic will encounter inside the video monitors. One is the Super Ring, which will give you 10 extra rings. The majority of the video monitors are Super Rings, so they are quite common. Next is the Extra Life. This gives Sonic an extra life if he dies. But these are usually in hard to reach places and in secret areas, so keep an eye out for them because you're going to need them for the later levels. The bubble shield gives Sonic an extra layer of protection in case he takes a hit. So even if Sonic is carrying rings, he won't lose them all if he is protected by the bubble shield. The power sneakers will give Sonic an extra boost of speed and will make him run twice as fast. The sneakers will only last for a short period of time. Lastly, there is the invincibility, which makes Sonic invincible. Like the sneakers, the invincibility will only last for a short period of time. Now moving to the controls. The controls in this game are extremely simple. The D-pad moves Sonic left or right. Down will allow Sonic to duck or do a spin while running. And up will allow him to look up to see the area above him. A, B, and C all do the same thing. Jump. Because jumping is the main attack in this game. So to me that would make sense. Sometimes there are times where you need to use the spin in tight places or build up enough speed in order to advance to certain parts of the level or reach secret areas for extra items. By the time of the later levels, you'll need to master the art of the spin, which shouldn't be too difficult to begin with. The graphics in this game look fantastic. The game is so colorful, from the bright and cheerful greens of the Green Hill Zone to the dark gray industrial area of the Scrap Brain Zone. It really brings out the tone of each scene and gives the game more variety. It makes the player want to keep playing to see what the next zone is going to look like. And there are also some 3D aspects as well. The springs have a shine to them which make them look circular, as well as the capsules and the lampposts. This really shows the capabilities of what the Genesis can do at its full potential. Last, the sound. Now Sonic the Hedgehog has a wide variety of sound effects, from jumping on enemies, springs, bumpers, hazards, and explosions. And they all sound really good, and are very unique in their own way. One of the most recognizable sounds of all time is the rings. Anyone out there can identify the sound of when Sonic collects one of those spinning golden rings. Although what really stands out in this game is the music. Sonic the Hedgehog has one of the most recognizable soundtracks of all time, along with Super Mario Bros. The most popular song is the Green Hill Zone theme. In fact, the Green Hill Zone theme was so popular that its melody was actually later used in the theme for Silver the Hedgehog, Dreams of an Absolution, for the game Sonic 2006. Take a listen.
This world was
As we can see, the music of Sonic the Hedgehog is without a doubt one of the greatest video game soundtracks ever recorded. Although I'm sure the one song that gave everyone nightmares as a kid is the infamous drowning music in Labyrinth Zone. Now comes the time to rate the game. Now the storyline for Sonic the Hedgehog is very original, but the fact that they don't have anything in the actual game to give you any idea of what's going on is kind of a drawback. So for not putting any storyline in the game, it gets a 7 out of 10. The gameplay is very simple and not complex at all. Only by the later levels you will have to use some of the more advanced maneuvers. So the game gives you plenty of time to know the mechanics. It gets a 10 out of 10. The graphics in this game are amazing. The usage of colors and scenery and make each zone unique from one another. It makes it a very eye-catching game and shows the Genesis' full potential. They get a 10 out of 10. The game has a wide variety of sound effects and one of the most recognizable soundtracks in gaming history. It gets a 10 out of 10. The controls are very simple. Move, jump, and spin, making it the perfect game for new gamers to start off with. And everything feels smooth and responsive. 10 out of 10. Finally, replayability. This game is very enjoyable and has a lot of fun factor to it. And I'm willing to play this game anytime, on any console. Sonic the Hedgehog is a replayable game. It gets a 10 out of 10. After adding up all the scores, Sonic the Hedgehog gets a total score of 10 out of 10. In conclusion, this is one of the best games of all time, alongside Super Mario Bros. Now we can see why this blue hedgehog gave Mario so much competition when he first appeared on the spot back in the 90s. If you have never played the original Sonic, what are you waiting for? Go get it now! For those of you who don't have the Genesis, it's available on the PlayStation and Xbox Live Marketplace, and you can even download it to your mobile device as well from the App Store. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you next review.